Anelka hit with a 5-match ban for Quenelle gesture. West Brom striker Nicolas Anelka was banned for 5 matches and fined £80,000 for making an offensive gesture, which breached the FA's anti-discrimination rules. Oh, Mike's funny. Swapping t-shirts. But it's one of them ones. But that was from Thursday 27th of February 2014. Now, Frenchman Anelka had been charged for making the Quenelle sign against West Ham on December 28th, which had been described as a reverse Nazi salute in tribute to comedian friend Dudon. The Independent Regulatory Commission said in a statement on the FA website that the 2 charges Anelka faced, that the gesture was abusive or indecent or insulting or improper, and that it included a reference to ethnic origin / race / religion or belief were both found proved. The FA stated an independent regulatory commission has found an aggravated breach of FA Rule E3 against Nicolas Anelka proven, and has issued a 5-match suspension and a fine of £80,000 pending appeal. West Brom suspended the player immediately until the conclusion of the governing body's disciplinary process, and will carry out their own internal investigation. The club cannot ignore the offence that his actions have caused, particularly to the Jewish community, nor the potential damage to the club's reputation, they added. Anelka argued that the gesture is not anti-Semitic but anti-establishment. However, after months of investigation and careful deliberation, the FA decided that there was a discriminatory element to the sign and have banned the player accordingly. Importantly, the commission added that it was their finding that Anelka had not been deliberately anti-Semitic. Now, to me, that sounds actually quite weird, but it appears that is why Anelka was banned for 5 and not 10 matches.
Yeah,
that's kind of concerning. It's kind of like, wait, hold on. If he's not deliberately anti-Semitic, but you're charging him for something that is anti-Semitic, already there's an incongruity there. Or am I the only one who sees that?
No, but didn't you say that FA is part of the Moronic Trinity?
Yes, they are.
So
yes.
I personally don't understand it. It's about, so this charge, according to what I understand from the beginning, is about him making an anti-Semitic gesture. Yeah. They had an independent group go and investigate the whole thing. They've actually submitted their findings, which say that it's not actually anti-Semitic. So,
yeah,
what are we talking about here?
It's an odd one. It's like, how can you say that he's done something anti-Semitic, but he's not deliberately anti-Semitic? It's either you are or ain't. This is the weird thing.
Is you is or is you ain't?
Yeah, man. I don't. I'm confused. I'm confused, but
this is it. And I'm just like, if the findings say he wasn't deliberately anti-Semitic, then what else have we got to talk about? Like, literally.
No, exactly.
So I'm just a bit baffled, to be honest.
See, this is one of them ones where the FA have gotten it confused. But there was actually a documentary last week on Dispatches that reveals police underreport racism at matches. But basically, yeah. Where we going from that? Authorities appear to turn a blind eye to certain incidents. An undercover reporter attended matches across England and found that mass racist and homophobic chanting is alive, kicking, and every bit as menacing as that which led to the FA to take on Serbia after a high-profile under-21 incident about a year or two ago that we mentioned. Yeah. But basically, one incident shows a Forest supporter clearly singing a racist chant in front of a police escort after their match at Leicester, despite his behaviour actually being racist. Against the law. He's not arrested and he's not even warned. Now, there are other a lot more kind of worse things like the Leicester City stuff as well. But the fact of the matter is, Undercover Hate on the Terraces is the Dispatches documentary from March 3rd. So if you can find it, have a look and try and find it. It's one of them ones. I mean, DCC Andy Holt from the National Policing Lead on Football Policing said, I think there is potentially underreporting by police officers and clubs. If the police officer hasn't done his or her job and hasn't reported it correctly and needs additional training, then that's something that clearly Leicestershire Police would have to look at. Now, obviously the documentary was only half an hour long, so there was certain clubs highlighted like Leicester. There was homophobic abuse reported at Brighton, shown at Brighton by the undercover reporting. It was the Forest thing, the Leicester thing, Millwall came out as well, was shown as well. There are many other places where it happened, sadly. There were a few young Everton supporters where it happened. It's just a disgrace any way you slice it. But the reason why we mention that in terms of racism still being alive and well is because Sol Campbell, former England manager Sven-Göran Eriksson has emphatically denied Sol Campbell's claim that he would have been captain of the national team for more than 10 years had he been white. This is from last Monday. Campbell, who played 73 times for his country, claims in a new authorised biography, keep that in mind, serialised in the Sunday Times, that the Football Association and the majority of fans do not want a black England skipper. The 39-year-old said, I believe if I was white, I would have been England captain for more than 10 years. It's as simple as that. I think the FA wished I was white. I had the credibility, performance-wise, to be captain. On the appointment of Michael Owen, who wore the armband on 8 occasions ahead of him, Campbell added, I think the FA didn't want me to have a voice. Owen was a fantastic forward, but nowhere near being a captain. It was embarrassing. I've asked myself many times why I wasn't. I keep coming up with the same answer. It was the colour of my skin. The 39-year-old led his country 3 times in friendly matches, and Eriksson, who selected Campbell 32 times during his 5-year reign, insisted in the Daily Telegraph that he had come under no pressure from the FA not to give the defender on the armband on a more permanent basis. Not a chance. During my years, not a chance, the Swede said. As you know, from my first to last game, I had David Beckham as a captain, and there were never ever any discussions at all in the team or in the FA about the captain. Now, former England striker Ian Wright also disputed his ex-national teammates' accusations, pointing out there were more suitable candidates around for the captaincy at the time. I think he's got the credentials to be captain, but to be captain for 10 years, I'm not sure. When you see some of the players that were around then, said Wright, who played with Campbell for the Three Lions in the late 90s. Wright added, I want a captain that goes in and gets you going. Sol has never had the demeanour where he is aggressive on the pitch to put people in their place. People say Beckham wasn't like that, but he only had to raise his eyebrows to put someone in their place. People's eyebrow, maybe? Anyway, but leaving that one aside. But another OWR right there. But it's one of them ones. Former FA Executive Director David Davis, who was at the organisation when Campbell was a player, says he was surprised by the allegations and believed they were wrong. He said, I am surprised by this because the reality is that in my time, managers selected the captain. Davis mentioned. And he also said, I never, and to my knowledge, nobody else in the FA ever sought to influence them. My belief is that the allegations are wrong. Now, you know what? The major thing about this for me is that Campbell, there may be some bone of truth. There may be some bone of truth in what Sol Campbell's saying, and I was speaking to my landlord about this before I left to make my journey for the show. And the fact of the matter is, Sol Campbell, you messed up. Whether it's true or not, even if it is true, you haven't presented any facts, so your argument's null and void already. And secondly, even if it is true, gone the complete wrong way about presenting that argument. Yeah. Because what Sol Campbell's done, like I was discussing with my landlord before I came, basically what Sol Campbell has now done, instead of encouraging chat and debate between the FA and ex-players and people of different backgrounds, such as black, minority ethnic, and Asian, etc., he has basically closed off those bridges. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because the way he's come out with it, firstly, the timing leaves a lot to be desired. He just so happened, why didn't he come out with this at the time? Yeah. And secondly, it just so happens that he's got an authorized biography that is coming out soon. So he's dropped the ball. 2 points there on why he's dropped the ball. Also, the fact of the matter is, the third way he's dropped the ball is that the lines of communication he's basically closed off, because the way he's come out with what he's come out with everybody is now going to be on the defensive.
Oh, yes.
People in power are going to be like, no. Of course we're not racist. We've had black England captains before. I think Paul Ince was captain.
Yeah.
For I think he was captain for France for the France '98 tournament. I think. But the fact of the matter is, I said the FA will be on the defensive. Ian Wright, who is a black player, he's come out and said, no, I'm sorry, I don't agree. And basically, what Ian Wright has said about not agreeing, he's basically saying, you know what? Don't paint us all with the same brush. Us black people don't all agree with what Sol Campbell has said.
Yeah.
Or if we do, we would come at it and we would come correct and say it in a different way.
Yeah.
Because hey, if you're trying to take on a system, you got to know how to work a system. And Sol Campbell has just come out all guns blazing, and I said the timing.
Yeah,
the timing. Yeah, it's just gonna look like a glorified publicity stunt because he's got a book to promo.
Well, that was going to be my exact angle. I was like, well, you know, when you think about it, really the best time for him to have mentioned anything about it was while it was happening. Yeah. Not now that he's retired. And even
like 10 years later.
Right. And the other thing as well, when you think about it, there's so much in football at the moment about race relations, etc., that really it's just of no help or assistance whatsoever. The other thing to say, as I say, you know, it comes from authorized biography, and I use that loosely. You know, so he's obviously peddling something, and they've taken essentially the juiciest part of the book,
of course,
and led with that.
Yeah, just like they did with Ferguson's book, with Redknapp's book. Oh, Gerrard's not a top player. Of course, the parasitic media is going to latch onto that more than anything.
Yeah. So I just think timing's all wrong, execution's all wrong, and to be honest with you, the whole thing's a fail. You know, probably not of an epic Jesus facepalm proportion, but
I would say it is.
But
I would say it is because those are the kind of comments, not even just the comments, but the way he's come out with them that could set race relations back and stop dialogue.
Oh yeah,
because everyone's now on the defensive and doesn't want to offend anyone.
No, it's true.
You know what? I've got to take a different line of thought with this because, to be honest, I think what Sol Campbell has done has opened up channels of conversation. I think basically he's wrong in what he said. At the end of the day, even I said, like, look how many captains were around you in that England team anyway.
Exactly.
To say that you would have been there for 10 years is absolutely a joke. Not even Tony Adams could have said he would have been there for 10 years.
Mate, there weren't even England managers in charge for 10
not
years.
Even John
every
Terry,
manager
Steven
changed his
Gerrard.
captain.
Not even, you know, there's so many good players in that England team that Sol Campbell's played with. Like, at the end of the day, it's laughable that he can even say anything like that. But the issue of race, you know, it's always been there. You know, maybe it's something that's troubling him. Like Gezzie said, maybe he needed to tackle it from a different angle and, you know, just come at it differently. But what I feel it has done though, when you think about it, it has brought together people in the way of thinking, look, you know what, Ian Wright, and his white counterparts saying, look, you're wrong, mate. Look, we've all worked together. We know how the system is running, and I haven't seen this. You can't bring any credence to what you're saying to this. I've been in the same situation as you, coming from Ian Wright's line of thinking. I've been through the same situation as you, and I can't honestly say that is correct what you're saying.
Because Campbell dropped the ball by not referencing any facts.
If you want to talk about you know, it being wrong, in a way, it's kind of a good thing because now it gives the youngers and the youth like. It gives them like a sort of not stepping stone, but a platform. It shows them a platform where it's like, all right, there's two different individuals here. One saying one thing, one saying another thing. Who should I believe? You know, and both are vocal. That's the thing with Ian Wright and Sol Campbell. You got Sol Campbell, who's very vocal. You can't say that from his days.
Ian Wright's vocal generally, but Sol Campbell, I think at this point has picked his spot.
Ian Holloway has come out and said he's vocal. You know, other people are vocal, and then a lot of people are siding one way and Sol Campbell siding the other way. So
Well, Ian
disbelief there.
Holloway has even said himself it wasn't Sol Campbell in terms of ability that didn't get him the captaincy. It was his ego.
Yeah.
So there's a different angle on it where it looks even more bad on Sol Campbell in that particular way. And as I said, timing. Ian Wright is vocal generally. We see it on Twitter. We see it on
What's bad about the
broadcast.
timing? What's bad? When is it gonna be a good time?
Well, the fact is, when
He's
you've
got
got a book to promote and you're coming out with something controversial,
his book.
that looks coincidental.
No, but it's in his book. He's written something down, his personal thoughts in his book.
Yeah, but then here's the other thing,
Where
right?
else is it gonna come out?
No, but here's the other thing. If you're really looking to attack this thing head on and be proactive, you do it when it's happening, right? Here's the other thing. There was that big hoo-ha about, the prominent England player that is John Terry and the issues with the Ferdinands, right? He could have even have said it then.
But he didn't say anything.
But he didn't say anything.
But
Whereas now, okay, in terms of the whole race issue in football, in terms of the mass media and the general perception of what it's like, by comparison to those two incidents, everything has calmed down considerably, right? So now, right, to be honest with you, you know what a lot of people will think about Sol Campbell right now? He's trying to stir.
Yeah, it's just publicity. It's just a publicity stunt.
Race relations in a negative light.
I think a lot of people are looking at Sol Campbell, and probably rightly so, in terms of let's start talking and whip up some controversy to get more sales on my book.
Literally, because right about now, when we face it, right, and we're being brutally honest, that's all that there is. For him to try and sell his book. And right about now, I'll be honest, if that's the selling point of his book, I really don't want to read the rest of it. Because, as the Straight Shootin one pointed out, where was the facts to back this up?
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Okay, you could have been captain for 10 years, but you already were captain for a couple of games. Why not just say, look, I wish that I had more opportunities to be captain. I wish I could have been England captain for 10 years.
Yeah.
Why not say that as opposed to I could have been if I was white?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, these days, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Wait, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, yeah. But these are his personal memoirs in his book. Whatever reasons you want to believe he is trying to do, sell and profit, whatever, generate more cash for his book sales. But at the end of the day, he put something in his book, and with the way media works today anyway, they go for more sensationalistic,
of course, the parasitic media, of course,
stuff within any material that they get. Back 10, 20, 30 years ago, they wouldn't have reacted like that. They probably would have airbrushed that, overlooked that. They probably wouldn't even want to talk about that. That's how it went on.
Yeah. I mean, but it's one of them ones. I mean, it's one of them ones where the fact is. It's just absolutely crazy because
you know what? Just to go on about the Quenelle situation with Anelka,
yeah.
See, the issue there with Anelka is it's not the fact that he's done the Quenelle. They like you said, they've said he isn't being anti-Semitic.
And he isn't an anti-Semite or racist. And he doesn't. And he's actually come out and said, I don't understand what religion has to do with the whole thing anyway.
The matter of the fact is the fact that he's doing slogans and signs, and at the end of the day, that can get misinterpreted. It's like bringing the game into disrepute. At the end of the day, he has done something in which, others will deem it to be racist. It's not he's racist, he's done something to it's like someone doing a Nazi salute or something like that. If you do that, you've got to be careful with how you celebrate and what you do you're going to go into the next talking point anyway. So
no, but I mean, like, but a Nazi salute though, right? Everybody knows, very, very different.
Yeah.
Okay. As I say, this Quenelle thing, apparently it's an inverted Nazi salute, if some sources are to be believed. But as I say, my bone of contention with the whole ruling with Anelka is this. The report has found, the findings of the whole investigation was, we don't believe Nicholas Anelka to be anti-Semitic himself. He's not anti-Semite. And we don't believe the gesture itself is anti-Semitic. So if there's no basis for it, why has he been given the 5-game ban? And why has he been charged £80,000?
Because he's done something wrong. Look,
let's just break it down a second, right? The whole thing was about, it's an anti-Semitic gesture, okay? That was the whole basis of the whole investigation.
Yep.
Right? The report, in terms of the finding by this independent commission, has actually found that Anelka is not, and I want to repeat that, is not an anti-Semite. And the gesture itself is not deemed to be anti-Semitic. So if there's no anti-Semitism in
Why has
any
he
of
been
the
charged
aspects,
for it? Yeah.
why is he being charged for it?
Yeah.
When you go on the field of play, what do you go to do?
Play the game, but I'm
No. When you go on the field of play, what do you go to do?
play the game.
You don't go out there to make signs and symbols and
See,
gestures and make political references.
See, but-
there is
Yeah,
no.
but a lot of
there-
people
come
do.
on.
Wait. There
See, but
is
you saying
there is
that
no
now-
need to be doing none of that.
Oh,
yeah.
come on.
And at the end of the day, when you do the wrong sign, the wrong gesture, it's when you scream down the camera, when you swear, you know, you're gonna get caught up.
The swearing thing, I agree with. Yes, okay. But, you know, from what you're talking about, you might as well ban all goal celebrations full stop. From the angle that you're taking, if you're saying that we're just
I'm
going
not-
on the pitch just to play
I'm
the
not
game
saying that.
and we're not going to celebrate anything.
But he's
right?
gone on the pitch. He's gone to make a political statement, and that political statement just happens to be something that affects other religions. You know, at the
Well,
end
the
of the day,
statement was to defend his friend.
To defend his friend.
But at the end of the day, you've got to be very, very careful with what you do. If there's anti-Semitic connotations with something, I think, Gman, you've said this in the past, the best way to avoid the trouble is just don't do it.
Very true.
Like people doing that.
Yep.
Like people doing that when they've got friends in jail and
KO.
getting charged for it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's precedent for certain signs. I mean, if there's any sort of incongruity or confusion over something, just avoid it.
Yeah.
Just avoid it, because it's just going to end up getting you in trouble, and you might end up getting charged for something that you really didn't mean. Like this thing with Anelka, it's a case of, yeah, he might not be anti-Semitic, but he's been charged with doing something anti-Semitic in its connotations.
In the connotations, yes, but even with that, right? Here's the thing where for me it's just a big grey area, because the actual findings of the investigation said they don't find the gesture to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
so
and that's where the FA have dropped the ball again.
this is my thing.
They've dropped the ball again.
If the findings actually said yes, this gesture is anti-Semitic, even though we don't believe Nicholas Anelka himself to be an anti-Semite, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, but on both counts, in terms of him being an anti-Semite and on the gesture being anti-Semitic, the findings have actually come out and said, no. So,
But it's the fact. It's for me. It's the fact that he's done the gesture. Whether he's anti-Semitic or not, he's done an anti-Semitic gesture. You ban him. You ban him for 10 games. Well, see, this is where incongruity.
No, but
it's
this is
equal
where,
to the Suarez situation.
yeah.
He's not racist, but he said
He's done
something.
it. You serve the time. Yeah.
see, but here's the thing, right? The difference with the Suarez incident, okay, was that in the findings, it was found that it was to be racist in terms of the act, okay? Whereas in the case of this Anelka incident, there's nothing that says it's anti-Semitic. They actually said, we do not find the gesture to be anti-Semitic. So it's either it is or it isn't.
There's a bit more to the Suarez situation than that, but yeah. Anyway, but on the basic level,
in
yeah.
terms
but
of the findings of the report by
Yeah.
an independent investigatory
Yeah.
group, okay, it was Suarez. It was found that it was to be racist, which was
Yeah.
why he was charged, and you can actually say it holds water. For me,
To an extent, yeah.
For me personally, right, the Anelka situation doesn't hold that much water, just because this independent group.
Well, their findings are contradictory, and he's only been banned for 5 matches as opposed to 10.
And that's the other thing. I'm
So-
like, well, listen, either you ban him for 10 and it is, or you don't ban him, you don't have him pay the fine, and you just leave it be. Because if your whole grounds for this entire argument is anti-Semitism and you haven't found any of it, then what are you actually talking
Yeah.
about? Literally.
Well, for me, again, that's where the FA has dropped the ball again. And this is where I said, this is where Sol Campbell dropped the ball. Because if he had said what he'd said in a different way, if he'd come at it in a different way, his argument may have held water. Because the FA are just on a general basis, when they make their decisions, they look like numbskulls. From Suarez to Terry to any other decision you want to go back,
And even to this Anelka decision.
they look like numbskulls. So if Campbell had gone about his his accusations the right way, then he could have made the FA have even more egg on their face. But at the end of the day,
for me personally, this actually, stirs up a brand new question: is should goal celebrations even be allowed? Right? Because here's the thing, okay? You have Samuel Eto'o's celebration, which personally I thought was brilliant, okay? From a comedic standpoint, based around his whole situation, right? But if you're gonna go and charge Nicholas Anelka for anti-Semitism for his, in terms of the report findings, non-anti-Semitic celebration, isn't Samuel Eto'o's celebration a bit ageist?
In theory, yeah, you could. Yeah, that opens up a can of worms. Yeah.
So I'm just like, can he not be banned for 5 games and charged £80,000 for being ageist?
But then that was more kind of retaliation. But I see where you're going.
No, but the actual act of it,
worms,
which is what we're talking about, not necessarily context. The actual act itself, ageist. So let's go and ban Samuel Eto'o. Let's charge him £80,000. You see what I mean? And then of course you got David Myler. His celebration, okay, what is he not inciting violence?
It could be read that way.
So again, right, ban him for 5 games.
Yeah.
Charge him 80 grand. It's either that or there's no celebrations whatsoever. That's all I'm saying. Because if you really want to break it down, that's what you're going to find in those kind of situations.
Yeah, I think it's one of them ones where, with your examples there, that leads into a dangerous game.
No, it does, and that's what I'm saying.
But
what would happen at the end of that?
But the FA with their charges, and with the way there's such discrepancies between the charges and basically muck-ups within the charges, that's where it kind of falls down.
And that's my thing. I'm like, okay, so if you want to roll out this charge, you have to look at pretty much every celebration. Okay?
Well, castigate uniformly and in a draconian fashion.
Thank you very much. So literally, as I say, you have to go and look at these others, and you have to say, well, Samuel Eto'o, ageist, David Myler, inciting violence. So what are you going to do with that? Literally. So as you say, either castigate uniformly and in a draconian fashion, or you just forget about it. Because right about now, literally, if you're going to handpick who you're going to punish and who you're not going to punish, then literally, what's the point? Yeah. It's the same with the replay punishment where the referee doesn't catch it. Yeah, right. That's silly. So either you're going to go through all the games and look at all the incidences and you're going to punish people, as you say, uniformly in a draconian fashion, or again, forget about it. Because otherwise, what message are you actually sending? Because this is the question I asked now. In light of the question that I posed to you about the Samuel Eto'o celebration and David Myler celebration, which for me, personally, you would have to line them up in a similar vein with the Anelka. You're right there, G-Man. Do you want to share the joke?
No.
Alright, let's come to that in a minute. We'll come to that in a minute.
Please.
No, I just find it funny.
If you will.
No. I just find it funny that those 2 examples are still being used. To me, they're not even in the same breath.
No, but is it not ageist?
I don't think it's ageist.
You really don't think Samuel Eto'o's celebration is not ageist?
No, I don't.
Him holding his back like that.
I think
and walking very slowly.
I think he was just responding to a personal swipe by his manager.
No, he was. But we're not talking about context. We're talking about the actual act, which is what Anelka was actually brought under punishment and charges for.
Yeah,
but old people do.
There was no context.
My granddad holds his back.
No, I know that, but
Liam, stop being ageist.
please. No, but I'm just saying that if that's the markers, if those are the if those are the markers that you're going to use to bring charges against one footballer, in the immortal words of the Straight Shootin one, castigate uniformly and in a draconian fashion. Otherwise, in my own words, shut the hell up and forget about it.